1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, hello, internet world. It's Norma Joe. After so long since I fell out of affection with my YouTube channel, but then I saw something tonight, just now, that irritates me so much. I was like, oh, let me make a video. And it's not how shitty I look on camera. Why can't I just look good? I feel like, I don't even know. Anyway, okay. I was listening to, look at this. You just see the whole edge of the couch right here. Anyway, okay. I was listening to Tim Dillon podcast. And he mentioned something about there being some shit called the San Francisco Civic Joy Fund or something like that. And I'm like, I live in San Francisco. I should see if I can get in on this because, of course, my naive ass, I'm thinking, oh my god, my giant hand. My naive ass is thinking like, oh, maybe the city is actually desperate enough to start paying regular ass citizens to actually do art and things that you never usually get paid for. Maybe all you gotta do is sign up. Maybe they'll sling you even maybe like $50 or something like that to like paint or do some kind of festival or some little outdoor carnival thing where it's, you know, I don't know what the fuck they got going on, but I mean, hasn't it been like over 50 years at this point since the city actually like, you know, was willing to pay like artists to do things? And I'm talking regular everyday people like me, people who can just sign up. But as we'll see, this is not the case, okay? The city is not desperate enough to be like, hey, we're gonna actually value some things that we haven't valued for decades, but we're valuing them now because we think it's gonna invigorate our city. No, this is not the case at all, okay? So I went online. I was fully prepared to sign up, even volunteer. You know, I like volunteering. I volunteer in the park. I volunteer at the farm, you know. I like things of that nature. I like the social aspect, you know. I like the activeness, you know, of the body and all that stuff. But, okay, look. I looked online. I forgot which website this is. It's the fucking some newspaper website or something. I forget. Or I didn't forget, but I was just looking at it. It's just I didn't write it down. I wrote down all the quotes that pissed me off, okay? Because seeing as I'm recording on my phone, I can't just have two windows open where I'm like, oh, I read the article on this window and I'm recording myself at the same time since my computer is still broken. It's been broken like a year now. I think maybe probably over a year. But anyways, yeah, they were interviewing somebody who's one of the people, I think, that set this whole shit up. And their name is Yekutiel, something like that. Anyway, the point is, this person was pissing me off. The way they word things is just so fucking dystopian. And I'm just like, ugh. You're trying to literally have a civic joy fund. You're trying to spruce up the city and try to be like, okay, apparently, you know, our city is getting a bad reputation, which I live in San Francisco. I'm from here. I was born here back in the good old days known as the 90s. And I saw the city change and go to shit with all the fucking computer people coming in here, the Silicon Valley fuckers, fucking it up the way Columbus fucked up the Americas and shit like that. But anyways, what was I even gonna say? That derailed me. Anyway, I hate how when I lean like this, it looks like I don't know, it looks bad. What's with all this shit right here? Anyway, whatever. What was I gonna say? Now my face is being cut off by the little number thing. Okay, anyway, it's just like, you want to have this, oh, right, what I was gonna say, it came back to me now. The city's not that bad, okay? It has a bad reputation because all of the touristy stuff, Fisherman's Wharf, Pier 39, which are right down the street from each other, Coit Tower, the financial district, you know, the you know, Market Street, which is a complete and total shithole. Like, all the touristy stuff, other than the Golden Gate Bridge, and other than Golden Gate Park, and a couple other things. The majority of the touristy shit that people who are not from San Francisco see is all in the northeast corner. And the northeast corner is pretty fucking ravaged, you know. A lot of homeless. People keep talking about fentanyl. I'm not out there doing drugs now, so I don't really know. But apparently fentanyl is killing a lot of people. You know, that's what they keep saying. I haven't, you know, I'm not in that world personally, but I believe it, you know, whatever. You know, just the drug, you know, like where I park my car when I go into work every day, there's like a couple needles on the ground, somebody scattered there, it hasn't been picked up yet. But, you know, I just run over them with my tires, whatever, not gonna puncture my tires, so. But, yeah. Anyways, the rest of the city, all this, you know, the city is in pockets. So, you know, bad neighborhood here, bad neighborhood there. The thing about San Francisco is it's very, like, sectioned off. Like, there's, like, a ton of fucking neighborhoods, and some of them are, like, really small, and they, like, you know, they, like, bleed into each other, but at the same time, there's definitely, like, distinctions to them. So it's like, okay, the closer you get to the ocean, basically, there is... Okay, this is what I'm saying. Like, there's pockets everywhere. I'm not saying that the ocean has no homeless or anything, no drugs, anything like that. Like, that's... You'll find that everywhere, but it's not going to be, like, major tent cities and shit the way it is in the northeast corner, the way it is downtown. The northeast corner is downtown, and Market Street is kind of like this big artery, you know, and, like, yeah, anyways. So... You go out towards the ocean, the neighborhood is called the Sunset. That's pretty chill, you know. There's certain streets in the Sunset that can be, like, a little trashy, but overall, the Sunset is fine. My neighborhood, the Southwest, is the closer you get... Well, actually, I was going to say the closer you get to the South, it's fine. But that's not true... Because it's complicated. It's complicated. But there's plenty of good neighborhoods, is all I'm trying to say. This is all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to map up the entire city. But, like, it's not, like... I feel like when people who don't live here talk about San Francisco, they act like it's the fucking, like, surface of Mars or something like that. It's not that bad, okay? It's not that fucking bad. It's just that if you go downtown, yeah, it looks pretty fucking ghetto, you know? But if you go to the actual ghettos, of course, it's pretty fucking ghetto, you know, just like any major city. But it's not like that across the board, you know. There's plenty of neighborhoods where you walk around and it's perfectly fine, you know. But anyways, all that to be said, okay, they want to have a Civic Joy Fund. They want to, like, you know, incorporate some fun things, and they want to supposedly perk up the spirits or whatever, show like, oh, we can still have fun, we can have a good time. Okay, you gotta make it fun, you gotta make it a good time. Like, this post-corona world is so fucking lame and so dedicated to nothing other than, like, the Puritan fucking Protestant work ethic. And just, like, I mean, all the way up until, like, 2017, and I'm sure right up until the corona, like, the day of the corona, like, 2020, like, early 2020, like, you know, we still had, like, parties in the street on holidays, you know, we had good times, we just had festivals, we had nice shit, where it's just like, all right, everybody let loose, you know, and ever since fucking corona, even though corona is dead now, until the next fucking whatever, like... that spirit is still, like, I feel like that spirit is, like, being, like, suppressed or something by the fucking powers that be, by the powerful. It's like, they're so fucking afraid to, like, move on, and I don't know, they just seem so in love with this idea that, like, everything's work now. It's like, they can't just throw a nice party and be like, hey, everybody, come party, like, don't worry about shit, just come have a good time, let loose, you know. That's the type of de-stressing situation that they act like they want to have, but they actually don't. Like, okay, so let me start reading you some of this shit from this article. It's in chronological order through the article. I just wrote down everything that pissed me off, and it was a short article, so it's not like tons and tons. But, okay, the first quote by this person, Yekutiel, says, San Franciscans have a role to play. We all can think about what it is we can do. We all have a part to play. Okay, it's like, that kind of just introduces you. It's like, it makes it about duty. About, like, it's not about, like, hey, do you want to get out? Do you want to reconnect? You know, like, hey, you want to make it about the pandemic? Be like, you know, the pandemic fucked up a lot of social interactions. Like, you know, some people stayed inside for the whole pandemic. Some people didn't. Some people still met up with their friends and stuff. But across the board, like, clubs and bars and stuff were still shut down and everything like that. So even if you're a type person that's like, fuck Corona, I'm still going out with my friends and still hang out with family. I still go to work because I work in the service industry. Even if you did all that, you're not going to be able to go to clubs and bars, and you're not going to be able to go to, like, street festivals, nothing like that. So if they were smart, they'd be like, hey, we're bringing that back. We're bringing back all those, like, social gatherings where you just get to be in a big crowd and, you know, like, just, like I was saying, just cut loose, be like, hey, isn't it fun to be in a big group of people, even if you don't know any of these people? Sometimes it's fun just to be around people, you know what I mean? Just to be around a bunch of strangers. I'm not saying you have to even talk to anybody or get to know, so you can if you want, but you don't have to. Sometimes it's just fun to be in the presence of many, many folks and just feel like you're part of a crowd, you know? But but it's not that attitude. It's like, hey, why don't we all strap our boots and put on our gloves and get to work, you know? It's just like this militant attitude, you know? And it's like I was saying, it's very, like, Protestant work ethic. It's not about, like, oh, hey, this is an opportunity to come out and get involved and, like, feel good. It's like, it's your fucking duty, you know? Okay, so they have 5 different things. So as I was looking where I could fit in, and basically nowhere. So the first one is music. So you need to be, you know, like, a legit musician with, like, probably a big following online or something like that. And I think they already hired these motherfuckers ahead of time. 2 is paint. So same thing. I was kind of hoping that maybe they could just hire anybody, like 12-year-olds and up. Because I remember when I was 13 or 14, me and my sister, we joined this thing where, like, it was for middle school kids. It was, like, between the ages of, like, 11 and 14, pretty much. And you just went out every day, and it was in the summer. You get $200 for it, which is obviously a lot when you're that age. And you just go out, you do stuff for the park services, you know, you pull weeds, you pick up trash on the beach with those, like, you know, those clipper things. And, you know, there was a day when we, like, did stuff with wheelbarrows. We, like, moved some dirt around. We even had a field trip a couple times, you know. Some of the days were just educational field trips, like going to Alcatraz and stuff. Like, it was cool, and it was very, like, hey, don't worry about it. We know you're a kid. Like, the team leader is going to help you out, show you what to do. You know, I was kind of hoping it would be like that. It would be like, hey, we want to beautify the city, so literally, like, anybody can come. Like, it doesn't matter if you're, like, you know, even young kids or, like, 90-year-olds who are, like, maybe partially paralyzed or something. Doesn't matter who you are. You don't have to be a trained professional. Everybody can come out and just pick up some paint, and we're going to just beautify, like, this wall or something like that. But no, of course not. They're like, we only want the, like, people on Instagram with, like, 200,000 followers and up or something like that. I don't know how it fucking works, but it seemed like they're not open to the commoners like me. Okay, after that is, like, clean up, adopt a block, and city civic core, which I don't know the difference between those 3 things. They seem kind of all interwoven. But basically, it's just clean up. Just pick up trash. And that's the only thing where they allow the common peasants to be involved. They're like, yeah, sign up and come do trash picking up with us, which I almost did, because I'm down with that. I would like to do beach cleanups. I have no problem walking around the streets and filling up a black trash bag, you know, and being like, all right, picked up some plastic today, you know, and stuff. That sounds cool to me, especially if you get to like walk with other people and talk and socialize at the same time. And apparently you even get food for it, which they don't need to give me food, but that's cool, you know. But after reading this entire article and getting pissed off time and time again, I was like, fuck this. I'm not signing up. If I volunteer, I'll volunteer for the parks, which is what I usually do. You know, I don't feel like getting involved in this shit because they annoyed me. Okay, so the next quote that I didn't like is, the only people coming to save San Francisco are everyday San Franciscans. See, this is what annoys me, is that there's like this fake sense, I feel like, of empowerment. Like I think the people think this is empowering, but really it's the most disempowering shit ever. It's basically saying like, you're on your fucking own. Like, oh, you want the government to actually step in and do something for its citizens and actually like help out and actually like do a job for the people who like, you know, are supposedly electing them and supposedly are the only reason they have their position is to help the city. But you know they fucking don't. And don't even ask them to help you. Don't stop even asking. All the work to fix up the city, oh, working class people, regular ass people, that's for you to do. On top of your job that you already do to pay rent and all this shit. It's not the government's job to take care of the city, even though it fucking is. That is their only job and their only purpose is to take care of the city and the citizens in it. But they refuse to do that shit because they're just siphoning off taxes like a bunch of fucking parasites. And then they have the nerve to turn around and be like, oh, don't ask anybody else to help you. That's not empowerment. Empowerment is taking things into your own hands. It's like, oh yeah? Okay, well then how about I don't pay any more taxes anymore? How about we dissolve the government aside from like the cops or something? We can keep the cops and the firefighters because they're the only ones actually doing shit. I'm sure the fucking board of whatever and the council person this and council person that isn't doing shit. You know, I don't even think the mayor is doing shit. When was the last time I heard about the mayor? The mayor isn't fucking doing anything, you know. These fucking people, it's like, it makes me so fucking mad when they try to put all the work on the people who have the least amount of power. And then they say, well, it's empowering. Fuck you. You really want to empower me? Then let me have some decision making in the gut. Put me in fucking government. And don't assassinate me when I try to change things. I know your games, you know. Like, don't fuck with me. Like, you want people to really be empowered, then empower them for real. But then in response to me saying that, these fucking people would just say, oh no, that's not empowerment because you're expecting to be given things. Like, nobody's ever gonna give you anything. You have to just be active and make it happen. Oh yeah, what, by snapping my fingers like magic, bitch? Like, fucking, that is such the biggest crock of shit. You know, like, obviously there has to be some giving at some point because a very few people hold all the fucking power. How am I supposed to get it? How am I supposed to fucking get it? Am I supposed to just walk up and take it? I'm pretty sure I'll get shot for that. You know? And it just blows my fucking mind. Like, how, like, the inability for this government to take any responsibility whatsoever for the city. And, like, to have any empathy whatsoever, to even give us, like, hope. Like, okay, for hope, they're like, okay, we're gonna hire some musicians as professional muralists, you know, but we're not gonna, like, actually do things. We're not gonna open up, like, oh my god, like, if tomorrow, like, I know, Gavin Newsom is the governor of California, but whatever. If him and, who's the mayor right now? I don't even know. Was it London Breed still? But anyways, if the people in the control of this city tomorrow were like, attention, attention, people of San Francisco, we are opening up, like 100,000 new jobs. You don't have to even interview. Just fucking come sign up because this is for poor people. This is for poor people to get work come down to one of our many offices, or fuck it, you know what I mean? For Corona, they wanted to have those fucking, like, vaccination street tent things, like, people just lining up in parking lots and on the street to, like, you know, have these, like, experimental, you know, things, like, all that, to have people just stick needles in them in public, in a line, like it's fucking, V for Vendetta. You know, okay, if you want to have all that outdoors, why don't we have some labor hiring, mass hiring, you know, outdoors in public, you know, that anybody can just come in, like no security, no anything, okay? Just put it out in the street. Okay, we're going to just set up a little folding table. We're going to just have a paper sign that says, "Come get a job," and we're going to sign you up for a job. And you're going to do simple things. You're going to clean up the street. You know, some people, if you're like really, really cool or whatever, we might give you like a power washer. Everybody else is going to get the little clipper things, pick up trash. Some of you, we might give some paint buckets to paint over graffiti. I don't have a problem with graffiti, but that's one of the jobs I did in college. I don't know. I'm just thinking here. You know, I'm just thinking. Some of you, we're gonna hire you to work at the animal shelter. We're gonna actually pay you. You know, all the homeless, all the super poor, like people who are just barely hanging on, we're gonna give you jobs. Hey, even if you're a drug addict, we can give you a job kind of like they had in Brazil or whatever that place was I heard about, where they dress people up in those furry costumes and they have them direct traffic so that people don't get hit by cars as much. We could do that here. Why can't we? San Francisco used to be a fun place. You used to be cool with people in costumes in public, you know? And, anyways, whatever. If they really wanted to lift up the city, they would do something like that. Like, hey, come get a job. We'll just sign you right up. You don't have to be good enough. Everybody's good enough, okay? You know, come get paid. Come work. Come get valuized or whatever, you know? Even if you're a little high, it's fine. As long as you're not threatening anybody or, you know, even if you do throw up on yourself, okay, hey, we'll clean you up. We'll give you a little rag, clean you up, and we'll give you a new cheap shirt that only costs like $1, you know. Hey, here you go. Get back to work, okay? Here's a bottle of water. I don't know. That's the way you lift up the city, you know. But people are like, oh, no, that's free handouts. Free handouts? Really? I'm talking about jobs here. Like, what the fuck do you want? You know, like, it's never fucking enough for these people. Like, the fucking self-reliance cult that I keep hearing about nonstop. It's just never fucking enough for these people, you know? It's like, no, not self-reliant enough, not enough. It's just like, fuck you. What do you know about it? You know? What the fuck do you know about anybody who complains and bitches and moans about there being too many fucking handouts? You know, what the fuck do you know about it? You know? Anyway, okay, let me move on. This person says, it's going to be our small business, art, culture that brings it back, meaning, you know, the city's wellness or whatever. We need everybody at this moment. That line pisses me off. That's such a fucking dog whistle. Because that's something that's left over from the corona. And this whole thing of like, every time I hear the line, we're all in this together, I just get so mad. My blood boils. Like, I get so pissed because it's coded language. It's coded, like, propaganda. That means, like, your individuality ain't shit. Like, you know, this is totalitarianism. You know, this is what we're doing here. And we know what's best for everybody, and you fucking don't. So shut the fuck up, you little drone, and be the little drone that you are, because we expect everybody to just fucking fall in line. And it drives me insane, this fucking stupid fantasy that the government had that's like, that, I don't know, just like this fantasy that they I feel like it's not even, like, isolated to the corona. It's like, they just want this, like, idea of, like, oh, we want it to be like World War II again, which I'm sure even in World War II, it wasn't like this. This is like this idealized, romanticized, like, dream world version of, like, oh, there's a big, huge problem and the entire country comes together in, like, a big amorphous blob and everybody hive minds and it's awesome and it's, like, everybody's just filled with love, like it's the summer of '69, but it's like in a mechanized way, like that. Oh my God, talk about the ultimate wet dream of the government. That everybody is just like filled with good vibes and good feeling and just love and compassion and just like boundless, like, I will do anything for the person standing next to me. But instead of gearing it towards music and freedom and doing whatever the fuck you want and getting in touch with your base primal instincts and like, getting in touch with your spirituality and getting rid of rules, they want all that positive shit geared towards, well, I'm going to work harder in the factory. I'm going to listen to the government more. I'm going to get on board with all this propaganda. I am one with my country, all this fucking shit. That's like the ultimate like government wet dream right there. Like this shit just drives me up the fucking wall. I hate hearing this whole, we need everybody. No, you fucking don't, because you've never had everybody and you never will have everybody, and you shouldn't. You don't deserve it. And even if you did, you shouldn't have it, because everybody's not on the same page. Everybody's not a fucking drone. Like, you will never have everybody. You'll get the people who are interested, and that's enough. You know what I mean? If you want to say, hey, we're low on our volunteers, we need more volunteers, hey, anybody, that's fine, say it like that. But don't be like, we need everybody must fall in line, like a bunch of little fucking dominoes. We don't have any room for, dissidents around here, Like, fuck you. That is such the opposite of everything that this city is supposed to stand for. And, I know it's not the hippie movement anymore. I know that's not what it always was, But it's just like, when I was a kid, this city still had the respect and the legacy that this is known as like a freedom place. This is like, oh, you want to be gay here? You want to be punk? You want to like be a musician? Like you want to, you want to do all types of shit that was stereotypically like back then like frowned upon by like, the Midwest or something. I don't know, whatever. The people who are the normies of the day. All the shit they would frown upon is like, nah, come out here to San Francisco. You do whatever the fuck you want out here. Like, we don't judge. We're cool. You can live your cool life out here. I know it's not that anymore, and you can't try to turn back the clock, but it's not about that for me. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to turn back the clock. I'm just saying that I want to hold this city to a higher standard. And when I say a higher standard, I'm not even talking about, the homeless and the drugs and the stuff that, the people on the news, when they talk about holding the city to a higher standard, oh, we could do better, I don't want people to OD and die. Nobody wants that, even the people, I'm sure most of the people doing drugs don't want that. It's just an accident, Some people want to kill themselves, but, you know what I'm trying to say, Like, but when I say hold the city to a higher standard, like, what I mean is that, like, at one point, we were considered a beacon of freedom, and that could happen again. Like, I'm not trying to turn back the clock, but at the same time, it could happen again, even in a different way, but we could respect those values again, And I just don't like all this bullshit of, like, we are one, join us, Like, this is not the fucking Borg, like, and for people to think that's empowerment and that's, like, going in the right direction, and, like, I hate this whole bullshit of, like, being progressive at the expense of liberty, What kind of shit is that? What kind of gulag are we marching into if you go along with that? You know what I mean? Like, that sounds like crap to me. Anyway, and then there was this quote. This is not a quote from Yakutiel. This is just a quote from, like, the person who wrote the article. But it says, because it was talking about, like, the clean up the streets thing. It says, tender loving care provided by droves of eager volunteers. So This is just bullshit in two ways, because first of all, droves of eager volunteers. That basically tells me we don't fucking need you. We have tons and tons and tons of people doing our bidding. We have more than we can even count. We're overflowing, drowning in fucking volunteers. So fuck you. We don't need you. You little punk. Like, you want to come over here and rock the boat? You think you're needed? You're not needed. So fuck you. Like, who gives a fuck about you? You know, that's kind of what it's saying to me. And then this whole thing of tender loving care. Nothing in this country, let alone this city, nothing provides tender loving care. Maybe if you're really, really rich. Maybe you can buy, if you're really rich, you might be able to buy a high-class hooker who is so high-class that they can give you the full, what they call girlfriend or boyfriend experience. And they are such a good actor that they can convince you that they actually are giving you tender loving care. Or you're just super, super, super easy to please. But in my experience, there is no such thing. So that's just artful speaking. And I'm just like, that's just, in a way, that's just gross to me. That's just nasty. I don't like, that's almost like a sexual innuendo or something like that. Like, it's like going around this, because I know what it really is. And there's nothing wrong with what it really is. Like I said, I was thinking about volunteering before I got pissed off by all this bullshit. Like, a bunch of people going around possibly in safety vests, you know, picking up trash, putting it in bags, you know, that's fine, nothing wrong. I like the idea of picking up trash, you know, like, there's no downside to that. But it's not tender loving care. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to take the reality, which is people picking up trash, maybe planting a tree or two on the sidewalk, you know, in those little tiny squares of dirt, you know, even maybe handing out some free sandwiches to the homeless. I don't really know what's going to happen, you know. That said something about that on the website. I think it's mostly just picking up trash, though, honestly. And, like, all that is good. But it's not tender loving care. Like, you're not gonna try and put this subliminal message in my head of, like, somebody getting their back massaged or something like that. When that's not even what you're talking about. Like, I don't like that, like, attempt at emotional manipulation. Okay. Where next? Oh, okay. I have this written in my notes. Fuck JFK. You know, I feel for JFK. I wish that the CIA had never killed him. I wish that he was allowed to be president. I'm sure he would have done some cool shit. But the only reason it says fuck JFK is because wasn't it JFK who had that quote that is like, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Okay, look, JFK, I know you didn't live long enough to see it, but let me explain something to you, okay? You said that at a much different time than it is now, okay? Like, at the time, it was, I'm pretty sure, the early 60s when he said that. And that's after, you know, the 50s, when the country still had many, many problems, most of them in the social realm, but the country wasn't hurting for money, okay? Like, that's the one thing you really had, is that, like, I mean, my dad's telling me about that, about my grandpa, you know, my dad's dad, about how he, like, grew up during the Depression, and once he hit the 50s, like, once the war ended, and they hit the 50s, and all this money was just there, all this prosperity and all this luxury compared to, like, what they had known up until that point, and to quote my dad, he said they dove in head first, they just dove right in, because it's like, yeah, the country was prosperous, you know, in a way that, like, I'm sure we couldn't even imagine nowadays. I mean, I know it was fucking racist and had a lot of problems, okay, and women were getting fucking their brains electrocuted and fried, and it was a whole fucked up shit, okay, but that still happens now, too, so, whatever, you know. At least it was nice that you could, you know, support a whole family on one person's income, okay? Let's not forget that. That's kind of a big thing. But anyways, all I'm trying to say, okay, about the JFK quote is that he said that at a time when the country had done a lot. I mean, whatever. The country was providing for the people, like, pretty good. I wasn't there, okay, but I have heard that the country was providing for the people pretty good. I mean, there was still ghettos and stuff, so it wasn't perfect, but, like, it was better than now, okay? And, like, so it's one thing to say it back then, but if JFK could just time travel here and now, I'm sure he would realize that all these people walking around being, like, using his quote to basically make an excuse for, like, why the government shouldn't help people. Oh, but they still get to keep on collecting taxes. See, I'm not a libertarian. I think the libertarians, like, I don't know. Okay, here's the thing. Every system of economics and government, I feel like, has the possibility of working. The problem is just, you know, every system gets fucked up in its own individual way. So when I hear these libertarians online, like, talking about, like, if we were in charge, everything would be perfect because this, that, and the other thing, it's like, okay, you know some shit would get fucked up and it wouldn't be perfect, but I'm not totally against the possibility of libertarian stuff, but it's just that, like, I don't even know how I got on this train, but anyways, yeah, I don't like this idea that, like, I guess this is what I'm trying to say, like, if we're going to be left out in the cold, and if we are not going to get any assistance from the government and constantly be told, well, you shouldn't be asking for the government to support you, you should just be supporting your government, and it's all on you, it's all on your back, why aren't you working harder? Oh, you already have, like, 2 jobs and you're still in debt every single month, and you know, you can barely support a cat, let alone, like, a kid, let alone if you're a single parent, even if it's not your fault that you're single, you know, like, blah, 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 all the stuff you hear all the time. It's just ridiculous to be, like, to tell people, don't ask for help, work hard, like, just do more, even, like, oh, you already use up all 24 hours of the day, figure out a way to squeeze more in, you know, figure it out, you know. It's just like, that's just such fucking torture and, like, such fucking bullshit. It's like you have somebody's kid, like, with a gun to the kid's head, and then the parent is like, you know, you're telling the parent, like, hey, lift this car. The parent's like, what do you mean I can't lift the car? They're like, well, lift the car. The kid gets it. It's like, what do you want him to fucking do? You know, it's practically torture. It's psychological torture at a certain point to keep demanding regular working people to work harder and harder and harder and sleep less and less and less, and, you know, just have more and more and more energy on less and less food and less sleep and less happiness. You know, happiness out of everything else, even if you have you're supposed to have a good diet and you need sleep, but if you're happy, it'll carry you. It's like cocaine. It's like a natural cocaine. Like, I mean, there used to be certain things that if I saw them or thought about them, I could get, like, 3 hours boost of energy, you know, because I was just happy, you know, like, but you want to take away all of that. And at the same time, I feel like that kind of ties back into the Protestant work ethic thing again, where it's like, you don't want people to have any pleasure at all. You just want them to work and only work and literally do nothing else. And if they even feel a little bit of pleasure, it's like, oh no, that's a sin. You're supposed to be stone-faced and just, like, literally, like, work at the maximum of your strength and then work harder and then work harder and then work harder. I'm so fucking sick of hearing that, you know? So it's like, if you're gonna totally leave us out in the cold, stranded, and, like, tell us that we have to solve all our problems because the people who were elected, supposedly, to help us aren't going to help us. They just decide not to. They just opted out. Because they're like, well, we don't fucking feel like it. You do it, you know? Then we shouldn't why should we even have a government? You know? We should have cops to stop people from just straight up murdering each other in the street. But we don't need a full-on government if they're not going to do shit for us? You know what I mean? We should have, like, a judge, you know. We should have the bare essentials. The things that actually still do jobs. The things that actually still work. But all these fucking bureaucrats and everybody, get rid of them. They're just sucking up air, man. They're sucking up resources. You know how much every year, I make so little money. I make so little money, and the majority of what I make, I can't spend on anything but gasoline to see my family. I save up all the money that I don't spend on rent and bills and food. I save it up just to buy gasoline to see my family. And I hardly make anything. I think I probably, you know, it's probably net zero at the end of the day, or very close to it. And every year, I still gotta pay, like, $200 in taxes. And why? You know what I could do with that fucking money? When you're sitting around here telling me that I got health care, but not really, because when I try to go to the doctor, they say, fuck you, we're too busy. Or they're rude to you. I can't even, you know, get good service in a store. You know, I can't, there's no labor office. You can't go anywhere and be like, hey, these are my skills. Can I sign up for a job? You can't get help with anything. You're literally on your own, and they're like, hey, use the internet. The internet is broken and shutting down all the time and glitching, and it's full of fucking stupid bullshit like hackers and, you know, all this stupid crap and viruses and everything, and just glitches, just so many fucking glitches. It just doesn't work. You know, it's broken all the time, like, and they're just like, use the internet. Use the internet. It's easier for us. You know, it's like, oh my god, like, can I get a human, you know? Anyways, where was I? Okay, so this is the end of the article, right? And this is, Yakutiel talking again. This fucking pissed me off at the end. This pretty much pushed me over the edge to make this video. It says, this is not a sit back and relax type of event. And then in parentheses, I put moral judgment. This is, I do have a part to play in SF recovering. And it's just like this fucking attitude, like, oh yeah, I have to do something. I can't just sit back and wait until somebody else does it for me. Oh, you mean like the mayor? You mean like the people who are actually supposed to be doing something? You mean the people who are getting paid day in and day out to help this city? Oh, it's not their part to play, huh? It's us? It's fucking working people? It's fucking, you know, I saw this dude, I was making a delivery the other day. I saw this dude who looked like he was exhausted. He had worked all day. He was kind of dirty. He had a safety vest on just like me. I think he probably was working construction or something like that. He had 2 kids. He had like a big old bag full of shit. And I held the door open for him, and it's just like, okay, you want him and me and all the other people I see on the street, you want us to fucking fix all this shit, huh? You want us to do that. You don't want to do anything. You know, God forbid we try to hold the people with power in the city, like, to a standard. We try to hold them to actually do their fucking job. It's like, fucking Yakutiel is going to sit here with an attitude, have an attitude towards people like me, and be like, this is not for sitting back and relaxing and enjoying the show. You have a part to play in fixing this city. Like, excuse me, bitch. I don't have fucking time. I have to spend precious time I have with my family, you know, which is not infinite, you know. I have to, you know, work. I have to do chores. I have to take care of the living animals that rely on me to not starve and not be sitting in their own shit. And then on top of that, I would like to take care of my body in such ways as working out, trying to cook, you know, and, you know, sleep, and then maybe cultivate a little tiny bit the thing that I was actually put on this planet to do, which is make art. Maybe I can dedicate like an hour of time for that. And then maybe I can just have a little bit of relaxation, you know, watch a movie or something, maybe enjoy art that somebody else has made. Maybe, you know, just, just try to live life. And at the end of the day, I don't have time to fix the fucking city. I don't have time, I'm busy. And I don't have power. I don't have money. And you want more from me? You want to say, you have a part to play. Why aren't you doing more? Excuse me, Yakutiel? Shut the fuck up. Why don't you do more? You can do my part. How about that? You can do my part, and you can feel extra good about your smug-ass self. God. Pisses me the fuck off. Okay, and then at the very end of my notes, this is what I wrote. Regular people did not fuck up this city. How dare you guilt trip us into doing all the work? It's like an abusive relationship. Like, it's just like, it's like one of those relationships where if one person is obviously doing all the fucking work and getting, like, bossed around and bullied around by the other one, but they're fucking meek or whatever. And then the bossy, when the meek one tries to ask for even the slightest little thing in return, the bossy one's like, what? How dare you? You ask for so much from me. I'm always supporting you. And it's, like, clearly the other way around. But it's just fucking stupid. It's just like, yeah, regular people didn't make this city bad. Even the drug users didn't make this city shitty. It is the people who are in charge who stole the money and let this place get so fucking expensive and let the software industry get completely out of control. Let the, the real estate, the housing go completely crazy to where nobody can afford shit. And then at the same time, you don't want to, you don't want to offer any, like, real assistance to people. You don't want to give out jobs, because that would be a handout. Oh, really? How about you just get people some fucking jobs? And how about you take one of these, like, crack and prostitution motels and you turn it into a homeless shelter? So, I mean, I know they've done that, I think, but do it more, How about you section off a big old parking lot and just let it be a tent city? Be like, hey, stop making your tent cities all along the curb and in front of people's houses and under, like, overpasses and stuff. Look, we got a tent city for you right here. Like, I saw that on the news. I don't think it was in San Francisco, but it was somewhere. And they had this big old lot that was fenced in or something. And they just said, like, hey, I know you don't really want to live in a tent city, but if that's the best you can do, come over here, because it's better to have a designated zone than have the cops be, like, herding you around all the fucking time. That shit is bullshit. We all know that shit is bullshit. Oh, like, if we tire the homeless out enough, they'll just leave the city. They'll get a bus ticket and they'll get out of here. We all know this is bullshit. Okay? Just do something. Like, oh my God. Like, I wasn't around during the Depression, but from what I hear, from what I understand, they had programs back then. They saw that everyone was poor, and the government was like, hey, if nobody else, if all these businesses don't have the money to hire any workers, let's hire workers. And they had, like, farm workers. I'm pretty sure that I've heard that during the Depression, they had some kind of art thing where they would, like, pay artists to do something really simple. I can't even remember what it was, but, like paint a picture, like, every block or something. I can't remember what the fuck it was, but it's just like they found excuses to pay people for their work, and they didn't narrow it down to, well, we're the only type of work that we actually value and we actually, like, think is worth paying for is like, if you can make a big old profit or if you can just keep the other workers in line. That's all we're interested in. They didn't say that. They said, hey, let's find any excuse to get these people paid, because they got to get paid one way or another. Let's have them do something, anything. Okay. But I don't know. I mean, I wasn't alive back then. I'm sure it was bullshit back then too. I mean, it's well known that the Depression ended by a fucking world war. I mean, it wasn't the whole world, It was basically Europe and Asia. in America. Well, there was no fighting on American soil. And you know what I'm talking about. Okay, a fucking war. I don't want a fucking war. I mean, it's bad enough that, like, every day you hear on the news, like, oh, America might get into the Ukraine. We might get in a hot war with Russia. And then there might be a hot war with China. And, you know, let's just start killing all around. Let's reduce this population. You know, I don't want to hear that, okay? Like, we shouldn't go down that road. Okay, war is very bad. Okay, let's not get it twisted here. Okay, war is never the answer. Let's just, I don't know. Can you see how this article irritated me? So due to all that irritation, I'm not volunteering. But yeah, anyways, I'll volunteer in some other way. Or maybe I'll just pick up another shift at work. I don't know, whatever. Bye.